Pete Thompson, the PT, is here on a Tuesday with Thompson. Peter?
Michael, you're playing a little U2 there. I got some lyrics for you if you want them.
Well, Sunday, Bloody Sunday. That's what we saw this past Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, it was brutal, you know. I'll do my best here. This is what I came up with. I can't believe the news today. Carson Wentz has regressed and won't throw the damn ball away. How long must we see this wrong? How long? 'Cause Sunday, we can suffer again on Sunday.
Sunday night.
Yeah, there's more. I wrote a bunch. I mean, it's easy to fill this one in. This is so painful. So painful.
It was painful, and I guess the most painful part about it, it's one thing to lose, Pete. The problem is that I'm starting to have, that I never thought I was going to have, you're losing because your quarterback's not very good.
Yeah, I mean, this is the quarterback that, was the number 2 overall pick, and this is the quarterback that you traded up to get, and this is the quarterback, by the way, that is in his 5th year. It's not like he just came out of North Dakota State, and he's just acclimating to the NFL and that speed and all that. I mean, when Doug says stuff like, well, we got to simplify things for him, what? By now, he should have it down by now. Good Lord, man.
Well, look, if you were looking at this roster this offseason, you might have said, okay, their linebackers are weak. I don't know what to think. It's safety. Maybe their offensive line's getting a little older. I don't know what to think about the why. No question was, man, the quarterback's the problem. And right now, through 2 games, the quarterback is the problem. And that's a huge problem.
I mean, his passer rating, did you see that number? 63.9. It's the worst in the NFL among the starting quarterbacks. And, of course, to rub salt in the wound, BDN had to come into that Bears game the other day, Nick Foles. And, of course, that just fires up the Foles base. I mean, Carson Wentz with 6 interceptions to only 3 touchdowns. I mean, again, his experience. I mean, this guy's when he starts on Sunday night in San Francisco, that's going to be his 60th NFL start. He's making problems like this is his first NFL action.
It's mind-boggling. And look, he had that season in 2017, and I think a lot of us have looked at that season and say, hey, he's got to get back to that point at some point. Well, that point doesn't appear to be coming. And if it doesn't, you got to wonder, what kind of decision do the Philadelphia Eagles have to make? And here's another question. If it's not there, how bad is this? If he doesn't get back to that point, how bad is this team going to be?
Oh, it's really going to put him behind the 8 ball. I mean, here's the thing, and I saw this tweet go by the other night after the game was said and done, and somebody was like, I told you should have traded him right after Nick Foles and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. His value was never higher, and you had a capable quarterback in Nick Foles. And, of course, this guy, I believe he either went to Clemson or he's the world's biggest Clemson fan because he was like, and then you could have drafted a kid out of Clemson, and then you'd have to, blah, 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 right? I mean, look, hindsight is 20/20, but this is not a guy in 2017. And that play the other day, like you see these little flashes of like the Carson of old, when he dove for the end zone, all I could think to myself is, man, that play looks a lot like when they played the Rams and he tore his ligament, I mean, a very similar play. The difference is, not heroic plays where he leads the team down and makes a beautiful throw to Ertz or runs into the end zone and gets in.
Yeah.
There's too many like flat-footed, overthrowing the receiver by 10 yards, missing Miles Sanders on that wheel route. I mean, my dear Lord, it's right there for the taking, and it's all Carson messing it up.
It is. I gotta look at it from this perspective too. Is look, even if you beat Washington and you beat Cincinnati, they still have some issues. There's no question. But I never thought that the biggest issue would be him. So here's the problem that I'm having. They tie the game. Fine, okay? They didn't win. We want to win. The tie optically is horrible. I get that.
Awful.
But it definitely helps you out more than it hurts. I mean, we saw an Eagles team tie the Bengals and go to the playoffs because of the tie. That has happened in the recent past. Here's the problem I have. I don't feel that tie is going to come into play anytime down the line because I don't think they're going to be able – this team just simply doesn't seem like they're going to – I don't know that this team has 7 wins in them.
And that's really a shame, isn't it? You know, when the Redskins game was in the books and in the heat of the moment, I blurted out that I could conceivably see the Eagles going, 1-5 to start their first 6 games. And the win I was giving them was the Bengals, who knew that win was going to the W would turn into a T. But, the problem is that the NFC East is bad too. So, you can see both sides of the coin.
That's the way it's always been. Oh, well, everybody else. I don't think Dallas is that bad. That's the problem. I think Washington's not very good. I know New York's not very good. I don't think Dallas is. I think Dallas is pretty good.
I don't think they're pretty good. I would say they're the best of the worst. I mean, it took an Atlanta brain. It took an Atlanta brain fart for them to beat that to win that game and rally and come back.
Yeah, I mean, but they went toe to toe with the Seahawks. They really should have won that game against the Seahawks. I mean, they missed an extra point. I mean, they missed like 2 extra points, a field goal. They went toe for toe with the Seahawks. They lost that game to the Rams. It was close. Yeah, they had a bad game against them. But put it this way, I think Dallas is far and away offensively. Their defense stinks, but they're far and away better offensively. And guess what? Their quarterback is far and away better than your guy right now.
Oh, I'll go for that wholeheartedly. I'll also admit that for the first time in my life, I drafted a couple Cowboys on my fantasy team, and Dak Prescott is lighting it up. I mean, he's been like 41 points, 42 points.
Yeah, but seriously, though, Pete, like, look, I'm not – I just got to tell you, like, I watched the Cowboys the other day against Seattle. I watched the whole game, and I watched it with a Cowboy fan, by the way, so it was equally maddening. That being said, they have a lot of injuries, and they're still playing through. I mean, their line's a mess. They got their defense is a mess. They are so far ahead of where Philly is today. Now, look, 6 weeks down the line, we could come back to this conversation and be like, man, remember that? But right now, the way Wentz is playing and the way Prescott's playing, those teams aren't in the same conversation. That's the problem I have.
Look, I would agree with that. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to my line of I think the Cowboys are the best of the worst of a bad division. But, yes, their offense is light years ahead of where Philly's offense is right now, and Wentz is a big reason for that. I mean, which is why then if you can get the running game on track, look, it's not – he lost more receivers, right? Deshaun went out on Sunday. Dallas Goedert was – like, here's the biggest thing, and this is the biggest problem that I have, Mike Gill, is that, for a coach that was aggressive, for an NFL pro staff that's supposed to be able to adapt to, next guy up mentality, they lose Dallas Goedert, and that game basically derailed. They didn't know what to do with themselves because they didn't have the guy that could help them execute this 12 personnel that they have to do. And I heard you talking earlier, I said to my girlfriend's son, Michael, I said, hey, Dallas Goedert's hurt. He's going to miss a couple weeks. And he says, well, good. Maybe that'll force Doug not to go to that 12 personnel crap. I said, or they'll just sign somebody off the Carolina practice squad and bring him in and call him a tight end. And he's like, what? And so I told him what I learned by listening to the Sports Bash, that's their method. God forbid the system's wrong. We'll just find some other schmo to come in and run it.
Well, their receiving core, if you haven't noticed, is a little banged up as well. I mean, they ran out John Hightower for 78 snaps the other day.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, isn't it? I mean, once again, so the quarterback is bad. Last year at the end of the season, the quarterback was getting it done with average to bad receivers. Now the quarterback's bad and the receivers are no names. I mean, it's just a comedy of errors. It's a mess.
Well, I'll tell you what, I hate to say Sunday night. I mean, 0-3-1 would be disastrous playing Baltimore and Pittsburgh. You got Pittsburgh and then Baltimore. So you got to figure out a way to get this game on Sunday night. And I don't feel very good about it. It's only Tuesday. Maybe I'll change my feel, but right now, don't feel great about it. I also don't feel great about the possibility of Matt Klentak being back, but Bob Brookover as well as all of us have, man, and Brookie's pretty good with his reporting, and he's saying, not happening. Klentak's back.
All because of a contract? I mean, you've got to be kidding me. Just because Klentak has 2 more years left on his deal and they don't want to, now the headline I saw today said that John Middleton is still weighing Klentak's future. But, like you said, Brookover has come out and said that, the sources say that he's going to return. And to me, that's a mistake. I mean, he's had 5 seasons. He's been given the keys, the kingdom, and one of the higher payrolls in all of baseball. I think it was $207 million or something like that, right up against the luxury tax, and he's got nothing to show for it. And the fact that it's not that he missed on the bullpen, it's how brutally he missed on the bullpen. I mean, I saw stats like, going into that final game of the season, the Phillies had led in 49 of the 59 games they had played to that point. Are you kidding me? All they had to do was convert a couple of those games into wins instead of blown leads, and they'd be in the playoffs.
Yeah,
just awful. I don't put any of this on Joe Girardi. I put it all on Klentak and McPhail to a degree. And I mean, look, you had a bullpen that was a 7.06 ERA, 12 blown saves. I mean, that's brutal. And now, if you're going to leave us with that taste, I mean, listen to this turd burger we're supposed to chow down on. Let's say that Klentak stays, and they lose JT Realmuto to the Mets, and they lose Didi Gregorius. I think they're going to burn the stadium down.
Here's the thing that I threw out there earlier. Let me get your thoughts on it. No fans have been in the stadium for a year. They have to pay him money. Now, there was a report that, and I'm sure you saw Matt Gelb, that they had to inform full-time employees in an email today that a round of layoffs is inevitable and will happen in the near future. So They're laying people off. They've lost over $100 million playing this season. How do I fire my GM who has money still left on his contract? So is the mindset, look, our fans have not been in the ballpark for over a year. They're not going to not come because Matt Klentak is the GM, because they haven't been here and they want to come back. So I'll take my chances.
Yeah, that raises a good point too. I mean, I remember when Gelb threw that tweet out about 2 weeks back, I think it's been, or maybe 3 weeks back, when he said, "I'm hearing that there's going to be some layoffs." I mean, the first thing they did was back in June, remember, they cut all the employees that were making at least $90,000. They cut those salaries. Now they're going to straight up eliminate jobs. And I have a guy that works for the Phillies. I texted him and said, "Are you okay? What are you hearing?" And he's like, "I'm not hearing anything." He's like, every day I go into work, I'm scared, So, I mean, I understand that optics of you're going to fire a GM that you owe money to while other people are out on the street. I get that. But I'm sorry. I just think, sports is performance-based, and you had the seventh highest payroll and you were 4 games below 500 and you missed the damn playoffs. I mean, that to me is inexcusable.
I would say, and I said this to Frank earlier, if you filled up Citizens Bank Park right now and walked through that stadium and asked every single ass in the seat, do you want Matt Klentak back? I don't know that you'd get a yes.
I would agree with that.
I haven't come across one person who says, well, no, not one person supports this guy. Not one.
I mean, at the end of the day, what has he really done? Other than he went to a more analytical-based front office, but at what cost? I mean, is the analytics base that and I know Middleton says, "That's not Klentak, that's me." All right, you could take the heat if you want as the owner with your bad hair. The truth of the matter is just that, there's been bad decisions. Was it analytics that told you to go get those bullpen players that blew? I mean, Joe Girardi, and that's the beautiful thing, is that Joe Girardi can only trot out the lineup once, but I love him so far because I think that he does both. He serves two masters. He understands what his gut tells him, and you're a baseball guy, Gil. You understand there's times when your gut tells you one thing and maybe the numbers or the charts tell you something different. Sometimes you just throw the damn paper out and play the game.
Yeah, well, here's the problem I had. I thought late in the year Girardi may have been having too much influence from someone telling him to do, because I didn't think he did a great job that last week when they went 1-7.
Pretty unbelievable. And I mean, and if you laid odds, of course, sports betting's everywhere, and you guys talk about it on the show all the time. What would you have said that in 2 times through the rotation, Nola and Wheeler would have lost all 4 of those starts? I mean,
and I talked about it with Frank. You would almost have to now put getting a pitcher that's better than those 2 at the top of your list of things you need to do this offseason.
Which is crazy because Nola's supposed to be your ace. We're 2 seasons removed from when they were legitimately talking about Aaron Nola.
He's your Carson Wentz,
young guy.
He's your Carson Wentz.
Regressing.
Pete Thompson, Tuesday with Thompson. He's back for Happy Hour Friday. He'll give you his pick for the Eagles game. We'll have another song that he can rap out for us here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the free mobile app. Peter, we'll see you soon, pal.
Michael, take care, buddy.
He, like all guests, appeared to be the Boardwalk Honda hotline.